-1.
Hello, and welcome to the 84th episode of the Not Your Mama's Gamer podcast, a podcast where Alex Lane is snarky all the time. and at the same time, we talk about games and gaming from a feminist perspective. My name is Samantha Blackman, and I'm an associate professor here at Purdue University in wonderful West Lafayette, Indiana. And I've got a bit of an allergy/cold thing going on. So if I've got this whole Brenda Vaccaro thing going on, that's why. And I'm joined tonight by four of my co-hosts, Alex Lane, Charlotte Hyde, Jennifer Lynn, and Wendy Sierra. Ladies, good evening.
Hello.
I thought it was like your sexy telephone operator voice.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the phone sex operator voice.
Yes.
Hello.
And now we have a new topic for tonight.
Sex phone operators.
And video games.
And video games.
We could make that work.
Next week.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we need to prep.
Oh, God. So, ladies, introduce yourselves, please, before this goes down a really bad path.
I'm Alex Slade. I'm an assistant professor at Metropolitan State University. I have a butterscotch in my mouth that I forgot to finish before I started. So, let's see. It was my first week as a professor. My second week now. So I'm pretty tired. So we might get a little loopy tonight. Should be fun. I study video games and gender issues in the video game industry, focusing particularly on corporate documents and things like that. And I'm teaching this semester a Children, Adolescents, and the Media, the Culture of Video Games.
Ooh.
Yeah. So now I'm an expert on children. So that's good for us all. That's good for us all, I think.
Yeah.
That's sort of scary. Okay.
Remember last time we recorded and that creepy Donnie Darko face appeared behind me?
Yeah.
So I noticed I put the lights on today.
Yeah.
And then we have the painting that I bought. I was really drunk in Seattle and I had $80 left to get back for the whole rest of the trip. And I bought that off a street vendor when I was drunk for $80. So I have to display it proudly now. Well, that was weird. Sorry.
Alright, well, I'll go next, I guess. I'm Charlotte Hyde. I am a doctoral candidate at Purdue University and a LEGO scholar. I have recently been focused on figuring out how to write dissertation and also be a LEGO scholar at the same time. So, yeah.
Nice.
I'm Jen Justice. I'm a PhD student at Purdue University. I am interested in digital rhetorics and programming and game studies and pedagogy, which is all kind of jumbling together in a lovely mess. And I'm starting to add professional writing theory into that too. So,
Yay.
No one yells at her for doing too much, and you all yell at me, you jerks.
Hey, I'm not saying I'm not guilty.
Neither am I. I'll never make that claim.
Nice.
Do what I say, not what I do.
I am Wendy Sierra. I am an assistant professor in English and digital cultures and technologies at St. John Fisher College in New York. And I am totally excited for my fall schedule, which includes a digital feminisms course, a game design course using GameMaker, and a freshman composition course using Minecraft.
Can I be you when I grow up?
Minecraft.
Yeah.
Props to Wendy.
Anything but Minecraft. All right. We got a fun night planned, so let's jump in. We're gonna start kind of quickly run through what we're playing, what we're reading, what we're drinking, if we're doing any of those things. And since I went first before, I'll go first again, and I'll go quickly this week. I'm playing a lot of the same old stuff. I'm playing Mario Kart 8 and Super Mario 3D World. Playing both because P's been wanting to play both, and jumping back into those. I am also playing a whole lot of Farmville 2.
Why do you never help me on my farm, you jerk?
Well, because you never play, and
What do you mean I never play? I help out your tomatoes like every fucking day.
I will help you every day from now on.
You know who's really helpful to me is Jen is very helpful, and also Sarah. Sarah has been
Sarah's
putting,
been super helpful.
Sarah just
she
started.
has been putting all 5 of her like teapot things into me, but I guess she's doing it for everybody, so go her.
Well, anyway, because you can do it more than once a day. See, here's my phone. I'm gonna go help your farm. I've also been playing on the 3DS of Kirby Triple Deluxe, which I got from GameFly because there was nothing else in my queue that was supposed to be coming anytime soon. But I haven't been terribly impressed with it, unfortunately.
Oh,
So I'm going to send that one back.
In your glasses.
That's because there were a bunch of alcoholics. And
I missed that. What's that?
nothing at all.
I alcoholics.
And I've also been playing on the PS4. The new game from Spry Fox, Road Not Taken. It's one of the free games this month from for PlayStation Plus. It's Spry Fox is the same dev that made Triple Town.
I loved Triple Town.
I
So
don't
it's
know what
kinda-
that is.
Oh, you don't need to.
It was a mobile game where you had to match up like bears and houses to make.
It sounds freaking crazy.
It sounds crazy, but it was a whole lot of fun. It was like crazy addictive.
Huh.
Like
yeah.
3 trees make a hut, and 3 huts make a house.
Make a house, and 3 houses.
3 houses make a mansion.
Yeah.
Got it.
Make a castle.
And then they make a treasure chest, oddly enough.
Yes.
Wait, Castle the Treasure Chest?
Yeah,
I think so. It was something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So Road Not Taken is based on a Robert Frost poem, I believe.
Yeah.
And
2 roads diverge nowhere, and I took the one less traveled by.
right.
And that has made all the difference.
But they changed the title and called it Road Not Taken. So you play a little adventurer who, oddly enough, is dead, and he dies at the very beginning. At least they didn't kill any kids. Because I was like,
spoiler.
but you have to go save kids from freezing to death and take them to their parents. But you have to like match up like sets of things in the forest in order to like open pathways and do other things to be able to reach the children. It's actually a whole lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. Unfortunately, it's only on the PS4 and not on the Vita, which is where I really think it should be.
Everything should be on the Vita.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine on the PS4, but it really should be on the Vita but it probably feels that way to me because I played so much Triple Town and I played that on the mobile device. So, yeah, that's what I'm playing. Alex, what you playing?
Let's see. Not a whole lot. I was looking for the mute button. I was like, I muted myself. Where's the mute button? Because my crazy dogs are fighting. So let's see. I've been playing the new Hearthstone expansion pretty diligently. I haven't seen you on there at all. Sam, have you given up?
I haven't had a lot of time to play Hearthstone, but...
Yeah, the new expansion's really fun. It's a little disappointing because, like, for me, like, that has been the best part of the game so far. Like, I really enjoy it. But they only give you, like, for each, like, wing you unlock, they only give you 3 to 4 people to fight. So it's like, in a few hours you are done. So it's really stupid in that respect. Which I get because it's not a solo game. Like it's a PvP game or whatever. So that's fine. But I would enjoy it a lot more if they did more levels and expansion and bosses and stuff like that. I thought that was really fun. And I've been playing Farmville, of course. Lots of Farmville. And helping Sam's lemons to be rebuffed.
Well, I just spent all my turns on you.
All right. That's good because I got to make like 40 pairs of wool socks tonight.
Oh, you should have told me that before I did that.
I've been playing a shitload of Catan because Catan's online now on the iPad. You can play it online against people. So like me, Mike, my mom, and my brother have been playing almost every night. We've been playing a game. So it's been
well, I might amazing. Have to buy that now.
Oh, you for sure should. It's and it's free. I don't remember. It's Catan HD, but you have to buy like the Seafarers and the Knights and Cities expansions. Mm-hmm. It's online multiplayer for Seafarers and the regular one. But to do the Knights and Cities, they haven't come up with that yet. But they said in the next update they're going to have that, which is going to be amazing. So that's been taking up almost every night. I've played at least one game, usually like 10. And now I played for my indie game of the week. I played Spellcrafter, which I will talk about in the indie game section.
Cool. Charlotte?
I haven't played anything. Well, I mean, I've been like, when I went to Scotland, the thing I missed the most was Lego, so I'm like really into that right now. So I've been trying to learn how to run or walk before I can run, in the sense of programming the robotic stuff.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm working on right now. I haven't played anything. I want to play what Sarah mentioned, the Five Nights at Freddy's. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I've heard that's utterly terrifying.
Yeah, I want to play that, but
That's the name of it.
I have been totally focused on Lego, so nothing.
Yeah, I'm kind of behind too. I've pretty much just been doing fallbacks, so lots of Farmville, so much Farmville. It's sad. And then Skyrim.
You have a Skyrim, Jones.
I do have. Well, it got real bad right before the school year started, so I had to. Plus, I have this shiny new gaming computer, and everything runs so pretty on it, and I had to see what Skyrim was supposed to be like when it wasn't like crashing every hour on my laptop. Mm-hmm. It's really, really cool, by the way.
Sounds like a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I am, however, looking forward to the next podcast because I am hoping to get into that pigeon dating simulator that's coming out on Steam, and I am excited.
Yes, pigeon dating.
Oh.
You know what else is coming out very soon is The Sims.
Yeah. But, okay, you know what? I think I'm boycotting The Sims. I'm pissed. Because no toddlers, no swimming pools, but they're going to sell them to you as DLC.
Oh.
Oh, gasp. Shocked.
Hey,
I don't understand.
It is a soulless, money-grubbing group of fucking bastards who are gonna put their entire company into an early grave. So I'm gonna soak up all the Sims I can while I.
But what exactly is exciting about The Sims? Because I mean, I totally don't get it.
It's one of those things, though. You either like simulation games or you don't. You know.
Right.
Right, and that's what you told me, but, like, what is it that you like about it?
Well, it's not just Sims, it's everything. It's Farmville, you know, you're, like, a farmer and you, like, check your crops and shit. Like, I don't, you know, like, it's weird. But I don't know.
I think what appeals for me about simulation games is it's got goals set within it, but it's customizable enough that you can kind of prioritize the goals that you have. And so it's been fun in the past, like with Sims, especially as their personality generators have gotten even more advanced. to customize sim characters as either characters from stories or characters from shows or as friends that I know, and then just let them loose and see what happens. It's often incredibly funny, especially when they really do act like who you expect them to act like.
Well, the other thing too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm rambling.
I was just gonna say the other thing too is it's the same for me. It's like the same draw as leveling up. Like you level up any character, you get stuff. It's like the most basic draw of 90% of the games, right? Like you want to build and amass and collect and enhance your character.
I'm
and
more
then line them
about.
up and see what they're gonna do.
I guess I'm more about let's move through the narrative, but I can see that.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever been drawn to a story because of the narrative, like what the hell you guys were just talking about, the zombie,
You mean the horror one?
yeah, the Walking Dead games,
okay.
like, or click,
yeah.
click, or this is why I don't like most JRPGs.
Yeah.
Click. Okay, I don't care. I'll read a book if I want to read a book.
Absolutely.
See, I like both of them. I just either for a story or because it's nice and just kind of something you can do almost mindlessly while also still being very engaged with like the leveling up, the grinding, or doing
I like
something
the
like
mindless part.
Farmville.
I
Yeah,
always liked grinding though too, which is weird.
I'm with you on that.
What's that? Oh, you do like that?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, no, grinding, sometimes it's like I hate grinding. I see the need for it when I'm playing a game, but I hate grinding.
I totally hate it too, unless I'm invested in the game and it's like a strategy and I think about it all the time and I got to do it. That's something different. But I can tell you for real, there's only one game that has done that to me.
What's that?
Dead Rising. I can kick the shit out of and explain in detail how to do it for every boss. But other games, I just want to get to the narrative. Move on.
Okay, I got
Well,
you.
that was interesting to learn about ourselves.
Yes.
Nice little diversion.
What are you playing, Wendy?
After posting about Age of Empires and how I don't play Warcraft anymore, we signed up for Warcraft. And after talking about how I don't research specs and itemization and best in slot anymore, have been researching specs and itemization and best in slot. So I've been doing that.
It's a service to us all though, because one of us had to be playing for the new expansion, right? And I literally cannot afford it, or I for sure would be doing it right now.
Well,
and I had to get off my mom's credit card when I bought the house, so I can't even put it on her credit card anymore. So.
And what kind of, I guess, I was persuaded into after having said nope, out, done, no more, quit. Then I heard a whole bunch of cool stuff about the new expansion, and I was like, damn it, Blizzard. How do you do it?
I quit things all the time. I'm really good at quitting things.
I quit for about a year and a half.
Just not stay and quit.
Yeah.
You
don't need to stay quit.
No one said that was a caveat.
Yeah. And then I did play a little Borderlands 2 as well. They had a free weekend, last weekend before, getting ready for the pre-sequel, the prequel sequel, the best title ever. So just some of that. Oh, and I played Always Sometimes Monsters as well, which I feel like I gave the most mixed review ever for.
Yeah.
It's frustrating though, because for whatever reason, I guess because of the system that they're designing it in, it won't run on my laptop. Or it'll run, but none of the controls will work. I can't move anywhere. So I have to shoo my husband off of his computer if I want to play it, which is a dicey proposition.
I just bought a game on Steam too, and I loaded it on both my machines, and it doesn't work on either of them. So.
What is it?
It's called like Spectral Knights, maybe. I don't know. Let me open up my Steam.
That sounds familiar.
It was. I think it's in early release yet. It was like a $10 game. I got it for $1, so I was like, all right, so I'll do that. That's a cup of ramen noodles. I can totally handle that.
Technically, that's several cups of ramen noodles, but...
Well, I have the gluten allergy, so I have to buy the fancy ramen noodles.
Oh, yes, spicy ramen.
I get it at the Trader Joe's. I feel like it'll kill me less if it comes from Trader Joe's, but I don't know.
It sounds legit.
Yeah.
It's pretty legit.
I'm no biologist, but I'm a doctor.
Well, my favorite thing to do now is because I have a doctorate. Like I took Bio 101 in college, right? In my undergrad, so I'm like, I have a doctorate and I studied biology because that's true, right? So, I've been doing that.
That is dangerous.
Oh, I do it a lot. I do it a lot. Night Shift is the game. Night Shift.
I spent a good several weeks telling my husband everything I told him was technically his doctor's advice. And fly for long. That was... He let that go for maybe a week. And then it was like, no.
Nice.
Like, okay, I get it.
Hey, that kind of accomplishment deserves some gloating.
That's what I thought.
I'm still making Mike call me Dr. Wife. It's legit. What's next?
What you reading?
Usually, what you reading?
Yeah.
Well,
Sam,
I can say. You know what? I'm not really reading. Excuse me. I bought a bunch of books that I have not had a chance to start reading yet, and I blame that on someone who posted about the MIT press sale on the game studies books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I bought a bunch of books.
That was a hole in my wallet.
Yeah, I bought a book called Connected Learning on why we should be teaching code to kids in K through 12.
Oh, that's one you were telling me about.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I need that for my class.
Yeah, you do need that for your class. So I bought Connected Learning, Play Matters, the new Miguel Sicart book.
Yeah, I got that one. Haven't read it.
I bought Literary Gaming, which is a new book. Because in the spring I'm going to be teaching a narrative and games course that specifically looks at sci-fi and fantasy. So that's going to be fun.
That sounds interesting.
And then I bought some other stuff that I can't remember off the top of my head. But most of my reading, other than that, has been kids' books. In the last couple of weeks, I haven't really had time to do a whole lot of reading. So. But I bought stuff, and I'm ready to read. How's that?
That's a step.
Yeah.
I feel like that counts as work, right?
That's part of the process.
Yeah.
That's for sure work.
Because you have to research it and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just filled out 2 complete acquisition forms just full of books that I'm going to make the university buy for me.
Nice.
Smart.
Mm-hmm.
What you reading, Alex?
Oh, let's see. Okay, so one thing that I have started doing, I don't remember if it was like Charlotte after your post. I then read this other post about. No, yeah, it was your thing. It was your 25-minute thing, right?
The Pomodoros.
The Pomodoros.
Yeah, that's right. So I decided to start doing that. So I picked up just a trashy so I've been feeling bad that I haven't been reading much, and I've been realizing that I read constantly all day every day, just not like academic books. So I've been reading stuff on children, adolescents, and the media, obviously. I have a textbook that I'm teaching in that class, and then some of Sherry Turkle's work on Alone Together, right? So revisiting that stuff, but I did a 25-minute segment on a trashy mystery novel.
Yay, Dean Koontz.
So I started reading a Dean Koontz book this morning because it was beautiful out, and I sat outside and drank some coffee.
That doesn't look like Odd Thomas, though.
No, it's not Odd Thomas. That is true. I'll get there. But yeah, I started reading that, and then what was the other? Oh, have you guys heard of Reign of the Phallus?
No.
So it's a book written. We read a chapter of it in Thomas's classics class, and it is a book about, and it's studying ancient Greece's obsession with the phallus. She calls it a phallocracy, and we read the one chapter out of it, and I bought the book because I really loved it, but I never actually started reading it, so I decided that as my aside to constantly reading about games all day, every day, this was going to be my weird little thing that I was reading, so then I read a chapter of that too. So it's such a good book. Oh, it's really funny. She's super snarky. I can imagine, after 40 years being a classics professor, as a woman, I'm, just watching all these, douchebags going through and talking about being oh, no, totally ignoring the homosexuality in ancient Greece, totally being no, women had more freedom than we thought they did, they were cool, or being well, it's legit that they had that society where they wouldn't even let women leave the house, or they could be put to death without a trial because they weren't actually humans, but totally ignoring that part of ancient Greece and just holding up the culture as this poetic
Ideal. Yeah.
Ideal, exactly ideal. And she traces, well, she doesn't trace, she opens up the space to trace back a lot of the sexism in our society today to the same view. When in fact what was really interesting is there is a section in the book talking about how part of the desperate grasp to hold on to this male-centric society is because they had a fear, this incredibly pervasive throughout the culture fear that if women had any power, that they would very quickly take over and destroy the men, right?
That sounds familiar.
It sounds like the video game community to me. And as I was reading, that's what
in
got
American
me,
politics.
Super, well, right, and that's what got me super interested is because the video game stuff that's happening right now is so severe, it's really similar to the stuff that was happening to women in ancient Greece. They couldn't leave their house, they couldn't speak in public, or they would, be by law and by everybody's approval be put to death and stuff. So it was pretty crazy. So anywho, that was fun. That's what I've been reading. Next.
Charlotte.
Well, I suppose I'll go since that segues into my stuff. Right?
The phallus?
No, the Pomodoro. I haven't read anything, but I am at the point in my academic career where I'm trying to figure out how to work alone, I guess. Because that's what we have to do. You have to work alone. You have to write a dissertation, and
It's hard.
yeah, it's hard. But I also, I have this area that I want to dedicate my life to, also, which is the Lego stuff, mindstorms, programming, whatnot. So how do you do that? How do you make your dissertation happen and also have this other thing happen? I've really put a lot of thought into this, and it's not working out. Because I've done it wrong, but I'm working on it. So, the Pomodoros are awesome. No, they are. They're awesome.
It's been working for me. I've started reading a novel and some stuff about Greek history, feminism, Greek history, and those are I love doing that shit, and I haven't done it in months.
Yeah. I think the problem is the Pomodoros are awesome, but you can't schedule your day like that. It can't be I'm going to do 12 Pomodoros today, because that's 6 hours worth of 25-minute focused things. And it's not going to work because things come in and other people come in, things happen.
Yeah,
So
structuring it that much just...
I'm going to do 2 of them get to read my novel today, or 2 of them to...
Yeah. It's not going to work. So, no, it's not... I think that it's adjusting, right? So, I think what I'm going to do, my new thing, is I'm going to try 5 Pomodoros, which is 2.5 hours of Pomodoros. Those are the focused work for 25 minutes. Will be the dissertation and whatever else is currently important. Leaving the other half of the day as things that come up, because things come up. I can't ignore that things come up. So.
Right.
That sounds legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think an important part of that stage in the dissertation process is just figuring out how you work.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You get cut free, essentially, and then you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have to do this.
Yeah, and I'm gonna figure it out.
And I can't schedule my day like, super rigid because it doesn't work. So I'm on day 3 of my experiment, and I know it doesn't work.
But it's kind of working. Like, it just isn't perfect, right?
Right. Yeah. I just have to
tweak it.
Yeah, tweak it or refocus or whatever. I just can't schedule my day like some kind of super rigid. This is what's going to happen. I have to realize that I have about half of my day to me, and half of it has to be to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Legit.
And this is really important to me because I'm trying to. It's not that I'm trying to play with Legos because I want to play with Legos, which I do really want to play with Legos. But I also see Legos as a jumping board, something a springboard that will get me to my next career. Because I don't see Legos as just hey, I'm putting Legos together. It's I'm learning how to program and build robotics and all that, and that's important too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out my schedule where I get all of that done.
And 4 committees, right?
Yeah, and all of everybody else's things. Yes.
You guys, leave me be on the 4 committees.
Yes.
I'll figure it out.
I'm just telling you. But, Alex, you have a point. It's I have this schedule, and then I'm all rigid until people are like, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I'm like, yeah, I want to do all
I care about stuff and things, so fuck yeah.
And so, yes, that's my same dilemma.
Yeah.
I want to do all of that.
I still remember my first semester at Purdue where I came in and held a prelim study group so we could start taking diligent notes and stuff the very first semester. So I was gonna pass those
They
prelims.
warned us about your approach.
I never did it because Jenny was like, no, because you're stupid. And if you take notes and start studying now, your notes for later will be stupid.
Right.
Which was a very effective argument. Not no, you shouldn't, because that argument is never going to work. But no, you're stupid worked quite well.
Works very well.
but of course, I came in with the same attitude, and Alex was like, no, you're stupid. And I'm like, no, I'm not stupid. And then I realized, yeah.
Well, and of course she didn't say stupid, too, but you did.
You did.
No, you're stupid, so don't do that.
Yeah. Regardless,
slightly less stupid.
She was right. She was for sure right.
Regardless of what Alex said,
yeah. All right.
Okay. Let's see. So what I've been reading. My reading's been all over the place because I've been doing some minor research on Joan Didion's Play It As It Lays because I had an article that I thought was almost publishable, and it's not almost publishable at all. No. So I'm back to the drawing board and looking through research, but that's been kind of fun. I really like Didion, and I really like Play It As It Lays, so it's kind of a fun text to dive into. And it really works well with a lot of the stuff that we've been doing with the feminist game culture and that too, that particular novel especially. And then I started reading. I finished all of the Walking Dead episodes that were on Netflix, and therefore this was the logical point to start reading the comic, the graphic novel, and I'm disturbed. The violence towards women and the attitude towards women is so much worse in the graphic novel than in the show or the games.
Really, I never read them. It's pretty bad. You get a little taste of it, and when they're like, especially the women are like, "This is our role. Shut the fuck up and do it."
Yeah, you get that that little taste at the beginning of The Walking Dead, but like the show, but it's relatively balanced, or at least like. Yeah, there's the sexism there, but then you also see the racism in other places, and like they're highlighting how bad it is. Mm-hmm. But like with the graphic novel, it's pervasive. Like even characters that you like in the show are sexist, bigot assholes. Like they toss insults towards women like they're candy. There was a brutal rape already. There were kids murdered. I mean, and 2 female children, by the way. But not that it matters when it's a kid involved. But I mean, like, there was a sexual component to it, which just makes it even worse.
Sam, don't read the graphic novel, I guess.
Don't read the graphic novel, Sam. And I mean, like, it's a really interesting thing. I'm glad I'm reading it because the comparison's very fascinating, and it's interesting to see what they included and what they didn't. And the ways that it changed in the development of characters, and some I like better in the comics, some I like better in the show. But just the overall feel is just so much more oppressive. Like it's interesting how strong that comes across. So it's been an interesting read, but it's been really rough. So that's me.
Sounds sad. No, I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I feel like that, I mean, does that kind of color your opinion of the show now that you've read the graphic novel and you kind of have that in your mind?
No, because to me they feel like such different entities.
Really?
Like so much, they're the same thing, it's the same characters kind of, but like the characters are so different. Carol is almost another character. Carol is another character entirely. There is no similarity between who she is in the comics and who she is in the show. A lot of the situations that happen that make Rick as bad off as he is by the time they get to the prison don't happen in the graphic novel. So he's actually, like, the point that I'm at, like, I'm pretty much caught up with where the show is, but Rick is nowhere near as lost as he is in the show. So he's more likable in the comics. And less trauma has happened, like with Carl and his son and everything. But then there's these other characters, like Herschel isn't as likable. Maggie is still cool, though. Maggie and Glenn are still pretty darn awesome. But they made Michonne so much better for the show. Like, so much better. 1,000,000 times better for the show. So it's, I don't know, they're so different. I guess I kind of appreciate both for different reasons. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. We'll see what happens as I get further in.
See, I don't even in the show I don't like. Excuse me. Excuse me, Maggie. Sorry.
You don't like Maggie? You don't like Maggie?
Mm-mm.
I'm actually not.
She's pretty cool in the comics, actually.
Why don't you like Maggie?
Look, because I don't. Oh, no, I'm kidding.
You're mad at me. You just explain everything about your inner psyche to me because I demand it.
No, I don't know. I don't know why I don't like Maggie. I don't, though. It's something about her personality that just kind of makes me crazy. I don't know if she feels too... She feels too infantilized at times to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I can see that. There's less of that from what I've seen in the graphic novel so far.
Okay.
And I like she is the most in control of her own sexual desires and everything, like where she can decide, like, I'm actually okay with being sexual. This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no body shaming or sex shaming with it, which is actually pretty awesome. And rare in a comic that seems to love degrading women in every other capacity. So she really stands out in the graphic novel. So maybe in that sense it's coloring my view of her character in the show, because they're similar enough, but I like her in that medium.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, was that enough of a description, a reason for you, Alex Lane, that I gave for why I didn't like Maggie now, since you were going to...
I'm certainly not the arbiter of whether your feelings are valid or not, but they're not. No, I'm just kidding. I get it. But this is sort of one of those things that go to where you and I sort of fundamentally disagree on the way particular women are portrayed. For example, Laura Croft in the most recent iteration, right? Like, you very vehemently hated her.
I did not.
Yeah, you did a little bit. At least during our arguments.
I was not happy with the way...
You did not like her. Let's be
you
honest.
didn't like her. She was weak. She sighed a lot.
She whined.
Yeah, but I'm gonna let Alex go. But yeah.
But to me, like Maggie, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know. But like in the show, like her base personality, like pre-apocalypse, seemed like it was pretty weak. She is infantilized. She for sure is at several points in the show. But like, she grows as a person. She gets crazy strong, and she ends up like being this badass. And I'm not saying like, oh, you have to have a good woman character or anything. You have to like come through this trial at all. But like, I like characters like that, because I can see like I would be a whiny brat at the beginning of the apocalypse and then be amazing and murder people. So like,
Yeah.
it's the same with Laura Croft. Like, if I was like trying to like climb a wall, I would be like, what the fuck? This is bullshit. Ow. And then get stronger and be able to do it. So there's like an element of my own psyche I see in characters like that I like.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
So, Charlotte, were you gonna say something?
Actually, yeah, I totally agree with you, except that as you were describing it, I was wondering if we have to give the same, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, the same something to men. Do they have to prove that they are able to climb, or do we assume they do it?
Yeah, I would say probably few and far between are the male protagonists that go through that.
No, actually, that's what I'm saying. Like, so, yeah.
That need to have a female character that proves that she can become a badass instead of just assuming that she can.
I don't think anybody's saying there's a need to have a female character like that. Like,
No, I do need to have a female character like that.
like having a variety of female characters obviously is the right way to go, but just because there's one that goes through that, I don't think is necessarily saying. Now, in light of all the problematic ways that they treat women in the book, perhaps not the best choice, but you know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
yeah.
if there is one and I support it, doesn't mean that there's a need to have the coming.
And that's not what I meant. What I meant was, would if Laura Croft was a male character, would we be questioning his or her, his in this case, need to whimper or whatever? Would we question that, or would we say?
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're turning it back on us.
I am, yeah.
So you're like, well, yeah, he's a big, strong man. Of course he's gonna whimper. That wall's fucking hard to climb.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm trying it back on us in the sense
You're
that
still wrong. You're still wrong.
I know, I'm trying.
would he be okay saying, "I'm scared"? Is it okay for guys to say, "I'm scared"? I'm not turning it back on you, Alex.
It's like a double standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way I interpreted your question the fourth time the best.
Well, I mean, using Walking Dead as, since that's what we're talking about, it's interesting that they took, I guess, season 2, 3, 4? Are we on 4 now?
I think we're on 4.
To take Maggie and start her there and then build her up. And in that same time, they took Rick and broke him down. So that now he's simpering and saying, you know, I'm scared. This is some messed up shit that's going on. But we didn't get that at the start. Like, he wasn't introduced that way.
He was Mr. Confident
grew
and
into that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and people are fucking complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have a myriad of stories. What worries me is the trend.
Yeah.
That Jennifer, you're talking about, like Jennifer. Never know. That the trend of the female characters being not respected and not being as good.
Right. And it's more that, like, with the show, a lot of times with the Walking Dead show, like, when something happens that is racist or sexist or whatever-ist we want to add to it, there's a pretty clear sense that something is wrong. Like, you watch the facial reactions of the other characters around, you hear their responses, like the music cues in the background kind of say this is not okay.
That's an asshole music plays.
Asshole music. Here for any time that we've got what's his face, Daryl's brother, Merle.
Merle.
But with the comic, like, even characters you like, I'm sure it's not a huge plot point, which I think is why it stood out to me so much. Herschel nearly hits Lori, and he knows she's pregnant. Like, he just nearly hits her because she makes some kind of comment about the zombies in the barn, and that's the full extent of it. It's casual violence and casual use of insults or derogatory attitudes towards women in a way that's not even nodded to as being an issue.
A smack to put her back in her place.
Right.
Because that's what's expected.
And there's like an apology.
That's seriously like the worst type of racism and sexism you can do in television and games and stuff. Is the stuff that's supposed to just be taken as normal. That is not.
And like a few of the more extreme ones, like Herschel doing that, like he ends up later making a comment like, I can't believe I was about to do that. But the whole attitude of the comics is very much this. There's no when it's so commonplace, it's not really surprising that it gets to that point. That it takes that long before somebody says this is not okay.
Wow.
Well, that'll be a nice segue into our discussion tonight.
Yeah. But Wendy, what are you reading?
Well, I'll be quick because nothing's so interesting. I sort of did the same thing and bought some of the same books as Sam, and they just got here, so that's awesome. But I've been reading a lot for my classes, so I've been sort of re-going through the Rules of Play, the Zimmerman and Salen game design book, and remembering how awesome it is. Like, yeah, you're right! And I see my highlights, you know, and I'm like, yeah, you got that! Yeah, mostly that, and syllabi. And lots of syllabi. We don't start until next Tuesday, so.
Wow.
Wait, what, Tuesday?
Yep.
So after Labor Day?
After Labor Day.
I'm super jealous, by the way.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind an extra week.
Well, we're doing faculty development from like 9 to 3 every day. So.
Okay, never mind. I'd rather just teach.
I had to do that last week too. I haven't had my time spoken for like that in a long time.
It's orientation week.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and I feel a little weird whining about having to go to work for 6 hours because it sounds like stupid. Like,
I had to do
God.
orientation last week, which is fine, but it's the same thing. I'm sorry, Jennifer. But yeah, you're like here for like this set amount of time, and it's like, oh, I'm not used to this. This sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
we're always on the clock, but at least we can usually be wearing pants or not, depending on what we're doing.
Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe I could give that a run at faculty development.
It probably
first
wouldn't have you come to faculty development anymore.
So both all around.
Yeah, win-win-win.
Yeah. Uh-huh. All right. So on that note,
What are you drinking?
apparently something really good if we're talking about going to work without pants on already. Well, I'll go fast.
I like that. What are you playing and what are you reading took an hour.
I know. And I keep saying we're going to get that down to like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
We are
Yeah.
a little
Okay.
punchy tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think we're all a little punchy tonight.
Yeah.
I'll go fast. I'm drinking a sneaky, right?
And
I
that's
was
half the
going
problem.
to go non-alcoholic tonight, but I decided I needed alcohol.
absolutely. I have a box of wine.
Oh, good lord.
Honey.
I didn't drink the whole thing. I just got it in here so I didn't have to leave when I wanted to refill.
Box wine.
I was poor. I was not going to be able to afford the box.
Do we need to start a Get Alex alcohol fund?
Some good booze.
Next Friday. Next Friday I get paid. I'm going to be eating a caviar pizza and drinking wine out of a bottle like the genteel Coke.
Well, I've got hard apple cider per usual.
Oh.
Nice.
Trying new, but I'm trying new brands every time. So it's
What
an
brand?
experiment kind of thing. Right now
I'm
it's Johnny
obsessed with
Appleseed.
those.
It's actually pretty good.
I don't like the Appleseed one as much, but I was at a bar the other day and I got the Stella one, which is one of my favorites, and they're like, you should try it with a shot of Jameson in it. And then I don't remember the rest of the night. It was amazing.
Oh dear.
No, I'm just kidding, but it was really good. Like, just like a little bit of whiskey fills out the sweetness of the ciders. It's very, very good.
Yeah, sometimes if I know I don't have to get up in the morning and it's a free night and whatever, and there's fun people around, like there's the little bit of the Fireball whiskey for the cinnamon and the apple.
Angry Balls, Angry Orchard and Fireball.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I love that, but no, I'm just trying out new ciders.
Alex Lane doesn't mix well with Fireball.
Alex Lane does not mix well with Fireball.
Sounds like a spell or a Pokemon.
Non-Fireball Fridays forever.
All right, Charlotte, what you drinking?
Well, I'm drinking what Alex likes to make fun of.
Well,
Is wine and sparkling water. But I will say, before she starts making fun of me,
I support you. I take back the fun I made.
I hope so, because today I was told I look fantastic.
Oh, because you're losing your...
Yes.
Yay, so your stuff's working. That's good.
So,
that and Zumba.
yes, I will continue with the wine and sparkling water.
And Zumba.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I'm not gonna harass you. Did you see my message on Xbox?
No, I haven't been on there. I told you I haven't been playing.
I see your message. I was like, I know your Zumba secret.
Oh, yes. Zumba, yes.
You could just also drink alcohol in a glass. It's the most efficient way to drink without the calories.
I sort of like the Zumba, though. Zumba's cool because you, do everything, all workout, every part, and it's like a game. So, I like it.
Zumba on Xbox?
Yeah, I have a game. Zumba, whatever the hell it's called. Zumba something. It's on the game.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I like it.
Is that water?
It's water.
You're supporting your hub, right? By
This
not drinking?
Day 31 of no booze. But who's
Aren't you
counting?
done with that yet?
I would want to die. No offense, but I would want to die.
Technically, we were done today, and we even went out for a celebratory, yay, we made it dinner. And I was like, so we get some booze? And he was like, I don't know, I really feel like, maybe it would be best to not for a while. And I'm like, you are such a fucking killjoy. So I got some lovely water.
I'm friends on Facebook with a recovering alcoholic, and she posts these posts about drinking all the time. So I'll read this one to you, her one from today, because I think it will energize you. First, you take a drink, then the drink takes a drink, then the drink takes you.
I'd be okay being taken by some wine right now.
That's like literally the most depressing thing I've ever heard.
I'm here. Here I am.
Oh God, they are so much worse. She had a lot of them from Charles Bukowski. So yeah.
Let me tell you something. If you put your drink in a 32-ounce cup, you got one drink, and then you don't have that drink. Doesn't take a drink.
That's what I'm saying, Sam. Exactly.
One drink. That's all.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I like to drink out of the box, because I can't track how much I drink. It's not like, oh my God, I drank over a bottle of wine. It's
But you
I
don't know
drank
that.
some of a box.
There's a box right
I
there.
drank part of it
Yes. Yes.
until I drink a whole box in a night and then die.
Well, that's fair.
You'd probably pass out first.
Should we probably move on?
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
All right. So let's.
We don't have any news, but news is kind of our topic, so
Yeah, news is our topic, so we're not going to worry about the news. So, Alex, how about you tell us about your indie game of the week?
I'll do it super quick. So the indie game of the week that I played is Spellcrafter by Roland. It's an RPG turn-based strategy game, although the description on Steam said real-time strategy game, so that wasn't true. I bought it. It's in early access right now. Essentially, it's every RPG turn-based strategy game you've ever played. So you are like this guy, and you are walking along a path, and then like a skeleton will pop up, and then you fight him, and you like find gold in its skeleton pockets, and then you find a town, and you recruit people by paying them to come fight with you. The reason why I like it is because it's a lot like the game Realms that I played when I was one of the first games I ever played. It was on Mac. It was by Fantasoft, who only made games for Macs and like gloated about it, and because my family had been a Mac family since I can remember, I was really excited because most of the games were on PC. So anyway, it was pretty fun. It's one of the Steam Greenlight games. The combat, it's turn-based, so you like have your archer do the thing and you fight them, and it's fun. It's fine. I think I got it for like $2 or something, so well worth it if you enjoy that kind of game. It's fun. Over. Review over.
All right. So then we'll jump into our topic of the week. Is Alex said our topic of the week is news, and we because we're staying current, as Wendy put it earlier, we kind of changed our topic on the fly. And this week what we're going to talk about is Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn. And that is because, we talk all the time about women who have been threatened and harassed and run out of the industry and run off social media and all these horrible things. And then, but we tend, especially in the last year or two, and I would say that the tense has changed since the number one reason kind of phenomenon, and people have started talking about it almost in the past tense. Does that feel kind of accurate to you guys?
It's always felt that way. Like, it's not a new thing.
Yeah, but people have been saying it like, this used to happen, or this happened.
Right.
And not
women have been run out of games rather than women are being run out of games.
Right.
It's always the thing, yeah.
Yeah, but it's been talked about in the past tense. But then in the last couple of weeks, we've had Zoe Quinn, the Zoe Quinn incident, and today even, after Anita Sarkeesian posted her latest Tropes versus Women video yesterday. We've had these things happen not once but twice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Zoe Quinn being harassed and threatened because of all people, the trustworthy ex comes out and says, "Oh, she slept with people to get her games published." But the people that these are unfounded accusations. We're not even going to go into why they're necessarily unfounded. At least I'm not in this kind of brief thing. And then today, Anita Sarkeesian she and her family were run out of their home
Mm-hmm.
by harassment and threats of a very specific and personal nature. I mean, she physically had to leave her home and go somewhere else for her own personal safety.
Right.
And the thing is it's interesting, one, that this is not interesting. It's fucked up beyond all recognition that this still happens. But it is kind of an eye-opening thing that makes us more aware of the tense that we use when we talk about these things, right? While things, yes, do get better, they're not better enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like, and I wrote a little thing on Zoe Quinn today on Monday on the blog, and the thing that really, I mean, it's disgusting, right? And if you were to look at it objectively and be like, this is happening to this person, blah, 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 and, 99.99% of people would be like, yeah, that's not right. But what is happening with these otherwise seemingly regular people in the gaming industry is that they're changing the tense, but they're also changing what the conversation is really about. So, like, and this is happening, like, even with academics that I know that I really respect. So they'll be like, yeah, like, but Sarkeesian's work is really bad. And I'll be like, or, oh yeah, but, some of these accusations against Quinn, or yeah, but the stuff that's happening to Quinn is representative of a revolt against a particular thing that's happening in the gaming industry right now, where people are getting far because they're PC or they're this or they're that, and not because their game is good. Mm-hmm. And what's driving me fucking crazy about that is that's not the issue. Like, whether Sarkeesian's work is good, whether it's accurate, whether it's feminist, whether it's whatever, whether Zoe slept with 1,000 people, whether her game, people are legitimately rising up against this movement in the gaming industry or whatever, it's like, none of that is the issue. Like, the issue is these women in the gaming industry are getting met with death threats and rape threats, and now, like, having to be moved out of their house. What I think was one of the most interesting things about the attack that happened on Sony was Lizard?
Lizard Group,
something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever they were. So they did all these threats, but then they actually called in a bomb threat on the Sony CEO's plane. And, like, what I thought, the thing that has been rattling around in my mind for days now is gaming threats have moved from trolling, and doxing and doing the online stuff to people to terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I think back to, like, the 90s when Kathy Sierra had to quit the industry because she was getting so many death threats and people sending mail to her home and standing outside her house and things like that. Like, terrorism has been happening in the gaming industry for a very long time. It has been happening to women, and now all of a sudden it happens to a CEO, right? And they start thinking about it as that. And, like, even me who, like, studies this issue constantly, I don't want to admit that it is terrorism, but it absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, but it's just happening to this group of women, and that needs to be what we talk about, not whether gamers have a legitimate concern that games are changing in a way that they don't like. That is a different conversation that has nothing to do with what is happening.
And regardless of what you think of somebody's research or somebody's conclusions, I mean, you can think that they're full of it, and that's fine. That is your place. That is your opinion. You can go and do your own counter research, and you can show it. You can argue it in the comment section. I mean, that's kind of what they're there for. We're used to vitriol and terribleness there. But there is no reason to take a disagreement with somebody in an academic setting, because I mean, the stuff that Sarkeesian is doing, or Zoe Quinn, or any of this, like, they are not taking it into people's homes. They're posting something on their own personal websites talking about the industry, and they work in the industry, and, like, this is, it's like us doing a publication for a journal or putting something up on our on the Not Your Mama's Gamer blog. I mean, it's not. It's meant to be public, but it's not meant to be invasive or
it is exactly
violent.
what we do. Right?
And so to then take something like that and say that the proper response to disagreement is to threaten to rape somebody or kill them or disrupt their financials or steal the things that they need to survive, like the response is so utterly disproportionate and depraved.
Not that response is ever proportionate anyway, but like this goes to show that gaming, like literally the community is rotten to the fucking core, and people in power are allowing it to happen and have been allowing it to happen for 30 years. And they're doing it by looking the other way. They're doing it by, they're sort of subtle things. They might not be calling in the threats to Anita Sarkeesian themselves, but they're absolutely allowing it to happen. And it has to stop. Like, I don't, maybe this is a revolt, maybe it is a whatever, but like, it's completely.
Well, and it ties into the stuff that happens at conventions, like the fact that it is just common knowledge that you are going to be harassed if you are a woman at a convention of any kind of nerd community, gaming community, anything like that. Sam, didn't you post a story not that long ago about the girl who was assaulted, and then they're like, "Oh, she fell."
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a couple weeks ago. That wasn't. That's recent. That's now.
That was at San Diego Comic-Con.
Well, I think that was the Comic-Con that didn't want to have a harassment policy.
Yeah.
Because they felt that putting the name harassment on something would imply that they have a problem.
Yes.
And that's sort of, that thinking blows my mind. Well, if we say harassment policy,
people will think there's a harassment policy. Right.
Well, that's of that same mind as if we teach sex education in school, kids are going to have sex. Yeah.
There was a quote on Stewart today that he showed from Fox News, and it was this guy, and he was like, who talks about race? Racists.
Yeah, that was good. And Jon Stewart said, "Did you smelt it, you dealt it, racism?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and not to tell a joke, but I mean, this is because this is getting to the tipping point, right? Like, women and feminists in games have been sort of sneakily upping the numbers and have now taken over the majority of the revenue streams in gaming, right?
Demographic.
And so like this has been happening despite the sexual assault, sexual harassment, and complete and utter illegal keeping women out of the industry, and I think it's gonna fucking tip. What do you guys think?
It's got to at some point, but you know what? Sadly, I don't know if this is gonna do it. I mean, and here's the thing: is that people have been talking about especially Lizard Squad. That's what it was.
Lizard Squad, right?
Who claimed responsibility for Sony and Blizzard and League of Legends and all these other folks that got hacked the other day. Is that and of course the airplane bomb threat, right? Is that gets called terrorism. And like you said, I don't want to say that what these women are going through is terrorism, but it is. But that's not what it gets called, right? It gets called harassment.
Harassment. Since when do you get to make fucking death threats to people and it's called harassment? No, by law, making a death threat is a terroristic threat.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if you're a man.
Yeah.
If you're a man.
Here's my question, I guess, and I don't know that there's an answer to this. It's something we're all dealing with, but I mean, these women, they're our colleagues. They're doing the same thing we're doing, just on a much more epic, like a bigger scale at the moment with the resources behind it. But like, can we do anything to help them? Can we do anything to help ourselves? I mean, this is happening everywhere. What kind of response is there to this? Because obviously you engage with 4chan, you make yourself a target. But there's got to be some kind of
why shouldn't you be
right?
able to engage with 4chan? That's the big thing.
We don't. Because I certainly don't want to. So, like, has this ever crossed your guys' mind, like, the thought that if we did get, like, big, like, we would be the... Because it crosses my mind all the time. Kind of almost every time I put up, like, a post I know is good, I'm like, please don't let there be a lot of hits on this and it get fucking picked up because I don't want to die.
And like I'm willing to keep doing this in face of that, but I mean it's a terrifying prospect, and it's a real prospect when you look at the things that people are going through. So
yeah,
what do we do to support these women? What do we do to support ourselves? Can we do anything?
I feel like we're beyond talking about it because like raising awareness of the issue is one thing, and we've been doing that for a long time. But like I feel very unsatisfied with it right now. Not that I'm not gonna like keep doing it, but like when we talk about the issues, like that is unsatisfying to me. I want to like burn something to the fucking ground right now.
Let's not, Martin Luther King. Let's not answer terrorism with terrorism.
Fair enough. What can we do besides continue to talk about it? Because we're already doing that.
Well,
yeah, we need that disclaimer along the bottom.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think that some of the things that we have to do is one, yes, we have to continue to talk about it. I mean, other things that we do is, I think the action that we do is what we do as teachers and as scholars, right? We are trying to affect a change at a much more basic level, because we teach game design courses, we teach game theory courses, we teach game studies courses. We even like Wendy, we're teaching comp courses where we talk about games, right? So all of those places where the people, men and women who are going to be making games are getting educated, they're getting these discussions early. Whereas, you know, obviously, or I can say even hopefully, the assholes that are doing these kinds of things now have not had these discussions in the classroom. And I say hopefully because that just gives me some hope that what we're doing when we ask people to think about it, you know, can affect some kind of change. Because like this summer I had a class full of computer science students and students who were kind of working on getting degrees in game design, and when we talked about some of these issues, they were issues that they had never thought about.
I know, darling oblivious things.
Yeah.
I mean, they were sweethearts. They really were sweethearts.
But in a way, Jen, that was a good thing.
Oh, it was a very good thing.
Right, because one, this gave them the opportunity to think about it, and because they had the opportunity to think about it, they can say, okay, well, you know, I mean, and they, you know, they were kind of oblivious too, even when they were thinking about their own design choices, right? And to think about it in terms of their own design choices, and then to go into rooms with other teams of designers when they hopefully all get jobs in the industry and say, no, that's a really fucked up choice there, and here's why. Let's do something different.
Right. And I mean, I mentioned the Bechdel test in my intro to comp class today, and 2 people out of the 20 knew what it was.
Yeah.
And we didn't stand up for too long because it's still like the second day of class. Well, we'll get into all of that later, but talking about just why you might do different types of critiques or reviews, and talking about Bechdel test as a type of critique for games or movies. And it was just interesting to see how little awareness there was, and to see that look on their face where they're like, really? There's movies that don't do that? Like they were baffled.
Well, and I like that. I like that answer. Like we do it through teaching, because, like, literally that's sometimes the only thing we have to keep us going. Right, is thinking that we're like affecting change at 30 students at a time, but then we train graduate students who do 30 students at a time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right.
It's like the old shampoo commercial. They told 2 friends, and so on and so on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's more satisfying. But the question I have is there places in history that we can like look to this, because we certainly aren't the first people who want to speak out against an issue, and are afraid to, even though they're the ones being like oppressed or whatever, right? Like you look at slavery, you look at women's suffrage, you look at almost any sort of movement. So like, what do people, the people who aren't willing to be the targets, what did we do then? What have we done in history?
Well, let me tell you something. You have to be willing to be a target. I don't mean that as in you should be, but you're obviously willing to be a target.
Well, okay, so yeah, let me rephrase that. Who aren't the target?
You're sitting here and you're talking, so obviously you're willing to be a target.
Sure, for sure, absolutely. Not that it doesn't cross my mind, but I still do hit post and I still do come to the podcast. So, okay, so for those people who aren't in a position to be targets.
Yeah, either aren't currently targets, aren't famous enough to be targets, aren't.
Or, yeah, so.
But we still want to make a difference, yeah.
So, like, what have people done? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that, like, look at Anita Sarkeesian's Kickstarter. People who wanted to do something but didn't know what to do threw money at it. Not that that's a bad thing.
That's a good point, though.
Right, but
Money
it gave her, it gave her one money to do the tropes versus women videos, and more than anything else, you know, not to say that the videos haven't cost the ungodly amount of money that she got from that Kickstarter.
This is a separate issue. Based on my rant earlier about how we're not talking about the real issue, we can't talk about right now.
It was a joke. But,
I know.
But more than anything else, it gave her notoriety.
Right.
I mean, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. One, because it did put her on the front line for the kind of terroristic threats that she's received. But it's also given her more of a kind of pedestal from which to speak.
And hopefully, I mean,
For sure.
assuming there's a little bit there to lean on, I'd actually be kind of cool with there being a surplus if it means that she can afford to get her family to safety when this stuff happens.
Yes.
Yeah, it sort of makes those arguments about money and stuff. And certainly I've levied my fair share of criticisms against her, but in light of things, it seems very petty and makes me think, because a lot of the stuff she's done, like, I've kind of felt like was old hat, blah, blah, blah. But clearly she's reaching the right audience for
a lot of people.
message.
It's not.
Exactly,
Right.
and so clearly...
Because we're not her audience.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
That's what you have to remember. We're not her
Exactly.
audience.
And
Yeah, and
also,
I think
we
that, like,
can't we can't equate disagreement with the kinds of things that are happening. We can disagree with somebody while still saying it is not okay to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we stand.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's no longer the issue anyway. Like, that is so far, like, how good her video is like so far beyond the scope of what's fucking happening.
Okay,
Exactly.
on a broader scale, to kind of cross over into other kinds of harassment and terrorism. Okay, now see this
I
really
love
might get us
that
into
we're
trouble.
calling it that. I love it.
Yeah, let's call it what it is.
I mean, and this is what might get us into trouble. When we look at what's happening in Ferguson, Missouri, and with Michael Brown, you know, people immediately say, well, excuse me, there's the possibility that he stole a handful of blunts from a convenience store, you know,
Not the issue.
right?
Yeah.
Before he got shot.
Has nothing to do with him getting shot.
One,
Nothing.
nobody knew, even if that was what happened, even though the store owner came out and said, no, he didn't steal them, he paid for them. And even if he had walked in there and stole a handful of blunts and a bag of chips, whatever the fuck he stole.
Even if the cop had caught him in the act.
Exactly. That does not warrant being executed in the street.
Right.
He was unarmed.
And that's what that's another thing they were saying today was that it's not appropriate to say unarmed black teen shot by a white cop because that unfairly colors the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Unfairly colors this fucking story.
I mean, and then at the same time, there are all of these other things that I mean, like I said, one, regardless of what he had done beforehand, excuse me, if he had done it or not, if he had done it, it doesn't warrant execution. If he hadn't done it and there was no reason to bring it up and it doesn't warrant execution. And at the same time, the fact that people feel the need to justify the fact that it didn't warrant execution by saying he was a young black teen and he was going to start college this Monday.
Right.
Okay, I don't give a fuck if he was a high school dropout.
Right.
Yeah.
There was that.
Still didn't warrant that.
I found an article somebody posted. And I put it up on my wall. Just gorgeously written about how there's just this idea that you almost have to prove that your life is worth it. When your group is a target, like I believe the author is black, and so they were talking about how they would, and no, I know they were, because they talk about slipping their college ID over their driver's license if they ever got pulled over for a speeding ticket.
Yep.
So that they could accidentally be like, oh, look, I gave you the wrong one. Like, look, I'm doing something for my community. I'm not who you think I am.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the kind of thing, like, we see this with women trying to prove themselves in these fields. Sitting in the PW theory class today with Pat Sullivan, she talked about her daughter being one of the few female engineers who actually gets to design products, and how they are constantly trying to move her into, like, management positions, which would technically be a raise, but they do not want women in the design areas.
Yeah.
And then if she tries to stay, they constantly make comments about her not being as smart as men. Like, oh, you're good at this, but a man would be better. And, like, well, I probably shouldn't say where, I'll stop there. But, I mean, like, it's one of the more progressive companies for hiring women anyway, as far as engineering goes, and that's women constantly having to prove that we are able to do the things that we already can show that we're capable of doing. It's African Americans having to prove that their life means something because, I don't know, some arbitrary societal reasons that say that this class is better than another class. Like,
well,
it's
and
ridiculous.
I think to take the point about proving competency back to games, one of the things you asked Alex is, what do we do on the ground? And I think it was one of you, maybe not, that posted an article today saying, if you're in a gaming community and somebody, uses the terms gay or raping or whatever, and you don't say anything, then you're part of the problem. Yeah. And on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I can totally get behind that. But on the other hand, I've been, hearkening back to the WoW experience, right? Like when I was in Burning Crusades doing 25-man progression content, and I was the only woman in the 25-man group, right? And I didn't speak up, and I didn't say a word because I wanted... first of all, I wanted to prove my competency in that group. I had to fight to get my spot. I had to fight to keep.
Did they know you were a woman?
They did, because they used voice chat. But I said as little as I could, to try to keep my head down just so that I could stay in the game. And when I was doing PvP, I had I think a better group. But they definitely used some derogatory language, and the expectation was, we're the only group that's doing this on the server. So if you want to play, you've got to play that game, or you can get out because we'll replace you so easily. So I feel the urge, and I certainly among people that I have close relationships with, I'm willing to say, like, look, you really shouldn't do that, you really shouldn't say that, and here's why. But I think that when you start asking people to do that in a larger community, I don't know.
And here's where I think I might fall into, since I've been reading Roxane Gay's essays, into her whole bad feminist thing, that, like, we want to be these wonderful feminist models that are making a difference, but we're human, and we do have to consider the consequences of the contributions that we're making. And I think it might be worth saying that sometimes it's fair to save the times we speak up for the people who we think we can reach. Because there are some situations where you need to speak up regardless of whether or not they're going to pay attention. Like, sometimes it's your obligation, like, you're there, do something. But there are some situations where you're not going to make a dent, and it's easier to work with them one-on-one. Like, if you have a personal connection with somebody and not in the heat of the moment, to sit back and say, hey, when you said that, that really made me uncomfortable. rather than trying to address it mid-event where everything kind of blows up in your face. And
So I'd say too, Wendy, like it's never your obligation because of your sexual parts to
Right.
be the voice of, opposition or voice of whatever.
Right.
Like I don't think because of how you were born, you must be the sole voice. So like if your way of progressing and standing up for women in the gaming community at that time was just being part of the group, then so be it. Like that probably did so much for women rather than, if you felt the rhetorical situation was you were going to be kicked out, and if you stood up, like at least you got to participate in the space. And like I think back to my first WoW days, and I was in the exact same situation as you, but for very different reasons, because like somebody, like a guy, took me kind of under his wing, and it got weird later. So I will say I was indoctrinated in, like, don't you ever say anything to this person, right? And I never spoke on voice chat or anything like that.
Can I say something?
Which are, I think, both very common. Both of our experiences, I think, are very common in online games. Go ahead, Sam.
And I love you all dearly. Let me start by saying that. But not all of us have that privilege.
True.
And that's that's one thing we have to understand, is that we all have to understand we're coming from different points of privilege, while
the privilege to not say anything, you mean?
The privilege to not say anything. Not all of us have that privilege.
The privilege to pass.
Exactly. To pass for, if we're passing for male because we're not using voice chat, if we're, passing as straight, if we're passing as, if we're racially passing, whatever not all of us have that privilege.
That's true.
Because we are either one, marked or out in some other way. We don't all have that privilege, so it becomes more difficult for me, especially. I mean, one, because I'm older and I've lived through a whole lot of shit, right? But as a black gay woman, who's been through all kinds of weird racist shit on a number of different levels, just when I think I've experienced every kind of fucking racism there is to experience, I have a white child, and then it kicks it up a notch, and I get a whole new round of racism in a fucked up way, right? I don't have that privilege, and I appreciate the fact that you do, and I respect the fact that you can say, I don't, I'm not going to do this, but I can't not do it.
Right.
And at times, you have to respect the fact that I get pissed off when people not do it. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I think I guess that's part of like the question that I want to ask is, if I do have the privilege and the ability to sort of, like you said, to pass, because that's sort of what I was doing in all of those situations, is as best as I could, passing as male. I mean, I don't know. Because every time I didn't say something, I certainly felt it. Right, so I don't know. Where's that line? When is it productive? When is it not productive? Should it always be spoken, even if it's not productive? I think those are the types of things that, I'm wrestling with.
I think too. Everybody has rhetorically, I think about all the times I've listened to people complain sort of behind the scenes about something they saw, And, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a privilege thing, but it's also like a situational thing, too. I don't know.
It is, and it depends on you as a person too, right? Because I mean, we've talked a couple of times about Roxanne Gay's stuff. One, because she's new faculty here, and she's got this hot new book out, and even the stuff that she's been experiencing here in town since she's moved here. Yeah. And she talked about her experience with kind of racism at one of the local big box stores, and kind of how she dealt with it. She kind of went to Twitter and talked about it.
She got backlash for it.
and she got backlash for it. And the one thing is that I kind of giggled when it, not giggled as in haha that's funny, giggled as in haha I've been there, right? I'm like, I can't tell you how many times I've cussed motherfuckers out at Best Buy, at a big box store.
Yeah.
Pretend I beat that for the very same reasons, right? It's like, yes, one, I'm going to cuss you out. I'm going to let you know that I know exactly what you're doing. I'm not going to make you comfortable because you're not trying to make me comfortable. So I'm going to let everybody standing anywhere near me know what's going on. One, okay? And then two, yeah, I'm still going to do the other thing. I'm still going to call corporate. I'm still going to tweet about it. I'm still going to post it online. I'm still going to get all these other responses. Why? Because this shit just shouldn't happen.
Right.
I mean, and that's kind of the, like I said, and that's my personality. Not everybody has my personality. That's probably a good thing. But,
I've seen you strategically hold out in confrontational situations, though, and utilize that later.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not stupid. I
think that
there's a difference.
I think what you're saying is so important because you're right. We are super privileged in a way that a lot of people are not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have too many people who are like, well, I'll just wait for the productive time, then you get
Then you have a culture
Nazi,
of fire.
you get Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
I mean, not to be hyperbolic, but I mean that literally is what you get. You get people who sit there and wait for not them.
Right. They wait for the big thing, right? This is a small thing, so I'm gonna ignore it, right? I'm gonna wait for something big to happen before the small things add up.
Now, I don't.
The conversation that started happening when the blog and the podcast started, right? Like getting this place to come and start having these small conversations. I mean, this is years in the making.
And like not to qualify what I was saying earlier, more to clarify. And I'm not saying that this is to counter your position, Sam, because I actually very much respect your position and agree with you. I am less likely to speak up if the language is non-directive. It's not directed at somebody. It doesn't mean that it's okay. It's a part of a culture that is not good and should not be said casually. But if I see either myself or anybody else being the target of it, I can't, you don't want to be silent at that point. You're throwing somebody else under the bus.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd be much more likely to put myself at a target even within a large group when it's directed language, and I'm more likely to deal with somebody one-on-one if it's non-directive. But that's not necessarily okay either. I mean, I'm not qualifying it or making it more okay or less okay. I just clarifying my stance where I was coming from at the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think anybody's going after anybody else on the podcast, but it's good to be cognizant of all these different. Sam, do you remember when someone on the podcast said that book raped my brain?
Oh.
Yes.
That was like the most wonderful moment.
I was very nice. You and I were texting like crazy, and I was like, well, that's something you might not want to say again.
Oh.
It was like this wonderful thing. It was like this person who is diehard in the trenches for women in games, but the language is so pervasive
it just
that you don't even know what you're saying,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the speaking out is and I'm very I don't think I've heard someone. First of all, the people I'm around are never oh, that's gay, or I totally raped that guy in the game. People I'm with don't say that. But the very few times that has come up, it's in those situations of, I think this is what you were getting at, Jen, is those direct situations of language. Maybe it starts to become your personal duty, for Sam in that situation, to be let's go back a minute. And,
so when I was...
Can we think about what was just said?
When I was PvPing on the regular, something that the guys, because they were all guys except me, in the group said all the time was standing around with his dick in his hand.
Yeah.
That was like you're not doing anything. You're standing around with your dick in your hand. And the first time I heard it, I was like, that is the most ridiculous, unpleasant, I guess, like colloquialism I can think of. And after I had, played with them for like, 2-3 nights a week for maybe 3 hours at a stretch, then I would find myself kind of thinking that. Like, I'd be walking around the hall and I'd be like, oh, if, that person wasn't standing around with a dick in their hand, maybe they'd get something done. And I had this double take moment where I was like,
did I just fucking think that?
What just happened in your head? So I can see how, particularly if you're sort of immersed in that culture, even if it's not, directed particularly at someone, it starts to seep in, and that's...
It does.
We talk about transfer in education all the time.
Yeah,
you think you're not learning something, in those cases as well?
Right.
Not that video games make you violent or racist or sexist, but when you're immersed in something,
but cultures do
transfer. What cultures do, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, games are mechanics and there's narrative, but it's the culture that turns it into a learning situation. And even solo games have a culture to them. I mean, that's why they have enough people buy them in order to stay profitable. I mean, you have commonalities, you have things to talk about, and when that whole culture is talking a certain way, it changes how you perceive it.
Well, that's like what I was saying earlier with, like, I think the most dangerous parts of games when it comes to racism and sexism isn't like the stuff that's set out in the open that's obviously meant to bring critique and tell you that that character is a bad character. It's the stuff that happens on the periphery in the game. For example, Sam, when you played Red Dead Redemption, and that woman was getting, like, cut or raped in the alley, and they were like, shut up, bitch, before I cut you a new hole, and then you just, like, keep walking, because that's just part of how life is. Like, that, to me, is, like, the most dangerous place for games, because it's just entrenched in the language, it's entrenched in the game. Mm-hmm. We've gone on too long, sorry.
No, I mean, it's a discussion that needs to be had. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Jen, I cut you off.
I was about to say the same thing. It's just it's important to be talking about these things.
On that note,
issue settled.
The perfect title for this podcast, which it won't be, would be standing around with his dick in his hand. But,
well, that's what Ricky was saying. Ricky posted on the message board, how else are you supposed to stand? And I was like, stand? Was he referring to, like, stand up for racism? Stand up for... I was like, what did we say that was talking about standing? That's what it was.
Yeah. I'm glad I brought that. I'm glad I brought that to the world.
That's good. No, thank you.
Don't use it in department meetings.
Or as a podcast title.
I really don't want tenure, so it should. Why can't that be our title? We've had vagina in our title like 10 times. Equal opportunity.
Okay.
No, not it. Responsibility for that.
Everybody just heard that. Alex Lane titled this podcast.
No.
Wow. You think I'm not going to do it, right?
No, I know you are.
I believe it.
For sure.
I'm going to give it a subtitle that has something about terrorism, though.
For sure.
Terrorists
I
with
was
dicks
going
in
to
their
make a
hands.
post on Monday that was like from trolls to terrorists or something. So you can steal that if you want.
Yeah.
So you don't want me to use standing around with his dick in his hand?
You could do a colon, right?
Yeah, that's what I plan to do.
Colon, standing around with his dick in his hand.
Or we could combine them, terrorism with dicks in your hand.
There you go.
Terrorism now with 30% more dicks.
This
is not horribly wrong. We need to end this now.
I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah. Drink some more of that box of wine, Alex Lane. Drink some more of that box of wine.
I know.
All right, so let's do a wrap up. Yeah, we need a wrap up. And I'm sorry. We'll do a quick deals for broke ass gamers. You want to tell us what you found, Wendy?
So, Walking Dead is on amazing sales until Friday. The first game is 75% off. The second game is 60% off. The 400 days is 75% off. So I think you can grab the whole sequence for less than $20.
That's a deal.
Cool.
Says the woman who hasn't finished who pre-bought season 2 and hasn't finished it.
It's okay, I haven't finished season 1 yet. Don't yell at me.
I won't. All right, so let's run through all the wonderful ways you can contact us. If you have something to say, and you may after this episode.
I know what all our posts are going to be about this week, though.
You can. You don't know what mine's going to be about. You can call. You can call us. You can send us. You can send us a voicemail. Please don't call us. You can send us a voicemail.
One thing we don't have.
Via the flyout on the Not Your Mama's Gamer blog, or use the nice little widget on the Facebook page. Use SpeakPipe. Send us a message. We will play it on air and talk back to you and respond to you because we love you. Or you can send us an email at nymgamer@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at nymgamer, or like us on Facebook. You know, just look for Not Your Mama's Gamer. Or if those wonderful things are not your thing, you can come to Tumblr at nymgamer.tumblr.com. Email, voicemail, Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter. Is that all the ways you can contact us?
Yeah.
So you have all those wonderful ways to contact us. And we welcome questions and comments or just kind of general rants. Keep them fairly short if they're voicemail, because I think SpeakPipe, because you know we're not using the paid version because we don't get many voicemails. Any voicemails?
Have we got any?
I don't think so.
We need some then.
We need some. We need some bad. Keep them down to like 90 seconds. That's good. You know, that's a long time. It says coming from the women who talk a lot. So send us all of those wonderful things, and we will address them on air. And you can always join us. We send out if you go to Google Plus and follow us on Google Plus. We send out an alert when we are about to do our live Hangout, which is generally every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard.
I posted it on the website too, and I'll start doing that every Wednesday as post, because I think there's people who aren't friends with us on Facebook or Google Plus, so.
It's
that
like
don't know when
9:15-ish type.
Yeah, we get on and we start chatting and we forget to push start.
I try to keep us on schedule. I'm working.
Lol.
So you can always join us, and then you can chat in the nice little Google Plus chat room. And
did you see Ricky's title?
I'm
because
looking.
we love him.
It's on the chat for the thing. I'm not gonna read it.
No.
Just look at it.
Yes,
I'll get over it
I see it. And you can chat with us like Ricky, who's sending us wonderful little messages in the Google Plus
Appropriate messages.
Chat area. And look out for, I'll mention it now, we're going to start a contest tomorrow. So we're going to start a contest, and we're going to choose from a pool of people who send us email or voicemail questions. There we go. Email or voicemail questions, serious ones, please, not anything crazy. Things that we might actually address. And the winner of the contest is going to get something. It'll be something
That
good.
was very clear.
It'll
Things.
probably be a T-shirt because I'm still trying to get rid of all those damn T-shirts. But a Not Your Mama's Gamer T-shirt is an awesome thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, send us a voicemail or an email, question or comment that we can use on our next show, and we will enter you in a contest to win a T-shirt. Come on, let's get rid of all these T-shirts so we can start giving away games again. All right. So, until next time, people, stay cool, stay dry, survive the beginning of the semester, and as always, game on.
Game on.
Game on.